Welcome back to the Unreal Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jaquita.
And I'm Marcus.
As investors, what do we do when dealing with untrustworthy people? All right.
That's what we're going to talk about today. Got Dunn here. He's back with us again. Remember us talking to Dunn about his apartment investing, the time we called him Mr. 200 Doors. I have no idea how many doors he got now.
It's more. It's more.
Yeah. But, Dunn, welcome back, man. Good to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, so, we know your story. We'll reintroduce you. But back when we first got started, this podcast was called The Smartest Real Estate Investor. So we did some rebranding, as you guys know, and he dropped a bunch of nuggets. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to it. But his main strategy is investing in apartments and doing syndications and all that jazz. So if you're into things like that, this is your guy. Wealth of knowledge, things like that, man. But this story, we got a little glimpse of it. So I'm about to let him take it away and kind of...
No, Marcus. We still want people, if they don't go back to the Smartest Real Estate, we want to introduce them to Dunn.
Okay.
Tell us about
Please
yourself,
allow
Dunn.
him to reintroduce himself. His name is...
Dunn, yeah.
Okay. So my name is Don Scott. I'm a real estate investor here in Houston, Texas. I started off as a buy and hold investor while I had a W-2 and transitioned from my corporate job to being a full-time investor roughly about 6 years ago. Been doing this full-time now, and best decision I ever made in my life. Or besides getting married and having kids.
Yeah.
Gotta throw that in.
Outside of that. But for the most part, did a lot of wholesaling transactions, a lot of flips, a lot of buy and hold and as far as houses. But then a few years ago, transitioned to multifamily, and then quickly grew that portfolio to about 200 doors. And we just kind of been rocking and rolling ever since. And shit, blessed.
Yes. So, and the one thing Dunn and I always talk about, because we both have left our corporate jobs, and I mean, we always say best decision. But the thing we always like to talk about is the fact that our corporate jobs weren't like low-paying jobs.
Yeah.
It took a lot of thought and decision-making to get out of there and everything. So, I mean, for you to say it's the best decision, and for me to say it's the best decision, I mean, y'all should listen to us. I mean, it's not for everybody, and I'm not encouraging people to go out there and quit your jobs, but just have a plan for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, 200 doors, that's not a bad plan.
I had to make it worth it if I was going to quit. I had to make it worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Quitting your corporate job as a high income earner is not easy.
Not easy at all. Not easy, especially when you have a family.
Oh yeah, for sure. You gotta make sure you keep up with the business and maintain the lifestyle. So yeah, man, it's something else.
Yeah,
my kids were 4 and 1 when I left.
Oh, that's scary. So you were kind of a new father too.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, you know, with us, we got these older kids, so we kind of like know how they operate. We know we
know what to expect.
Right. We know which ones are gonna ask for the most and which ones we can kind of ride it out. But you still in diapers.
They didn't have standards yet. They didn't know what it was.
Okay, that's a good perspective to look at it at. Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, that actually probably makes more sense. Like you don't know what's going on.
We had a couple of birthdays early on where it's like, oh, you didn't even know it was your birthday.
Right.
I said all the time, if I could take it back, I would not have like 1-year-old birthday parties and stuff, because who are we really doing it for?
I gave you the first one. Because the first one's for everybody.
I guess
it's not really for the baby.
I guess so.
But 2, what are we doing
3?
Right. Exactly. Like you don't know what day it is.
How you know it's a lot of people and noise.
Exactly.
Everybody looking at you.
We got cake and we chilling at the house.
Exactly. Right. All right, so let's get into this story, and then after that, we want to kind of roll back into like how you got into like apartments and how is that going and everything. Okay. All right, so tell us your story.
Okay, so actually, it was my very, very first wholesale deal. So at that point, starting off, I had a good amount of houses. I want to say I had like 5 rental properties at the time, still having my corporate job in hand, and my very first wholesale transaction, we saw all kind of things go on with it. And so it was a property where I'm purchasing it from a wholesaler, and then I somehow turned into a wholesaler on the transaction. And so so the way that worked at the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah, because what was the original plan?
so the original plan was I was actually transitioning from wholesaling to flipping more.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm
gotcha.
looking for a house to flip.
Makes sense.
And so
Got it.
I get the house under contract,
Mhm.
and then spoke to my mentor, and he was like, you can't flip over there. And
got
he
it.
flipped 50, 60 houses a year. So
You're going to listen to him.
Yeah.
So, and to this day, 50 to 60 houses a year, like,
Wow.
that's his bread and butter. Like, that's one of his businesses.
That's
And
impressive.
so for him, he was like, at the time, he was like, you can't do that. And here's why he gave me a list of reasons. I'm like, makes sense. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let me, he was like, well, do you mind? Like, why don't you just wholesale it back out? I don't know anything about wholesaling. So not knowing a thing about wholesaling, I reached out to the wholesaler and was like, hey, you mind if I wholesale this thing back out? He was like, I don't care as long as I get my bread.
Right.
And I was like, all right, cool. If I can't find a buyer, and like these were my exact words, if I can't find a buyer, I'm going to close. Like that's just
Gotcha.
like, because I went under contract saying I'm going to close.
Yeah.
So that was my mentality. So long story short, like I'm hitting up my brother, a couple of friends, like, hey, y'all have some bread? Like y'all want to go in on this? Like, cause we're going to pay cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at the time it was a pretty cheap house. So it was like relatively cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, we had corporate jobs. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
so I'm not going to like,
Yeah.
like it was like hundreds of thousands. Like it was, I want to say it was like 30 grand or something.
Oh yeah. Nothing
All
to a
right.
boss.
Gotcha.
Nothing to a
I'm
boss.
not saying that. So it's not like at that time I had it, right?
Yeah.
Just sitting in the account. So reaching out to people, but at the same time, I'm talking to my mentor. So it's like, hey, how do I wholesale it? And he had a pretty big list. So he was like, I'll blast it. Which at the time I didn't even know anything about lists or anything, right? He was like, I'll just email it out, but you just gotta take all the traffic that comes in from it. Okay. Like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So, at the time, I don't think I did, we hadn't done a whole lot of transactions. I mean, like I said, we had the 5 rentals. So I kind of understand the game. But my wife was a realtor, so, I kind of understood real estate, but not to the degree I understand now.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, the calls start coming in. Like, I turn on the hat like I'm a realtor. Like, yeah, this is a 2-1. It can be converted to a 3-1. Like,
trying to sell it.
Because I don't know what to do. Nobody told me, here's what you do. And it's not like I YouTubed or Googled or nothing.
Yeah.
So, I just started taking calls, and then some guy was like, hey, so when can I see it? I'm like, didn't think that far in advance.
You still got that corporate job.
I was like, Saturday at 10? Like, that cool? He said, yeah, I think that can make it. Immediately get out the call the host. Hey, can I do a show on Saturday at 10? He's like, I'll set it up. Long story short, people start coming through. I end up getting a buyer from the showing.
Nice.
So he was like, we can just go back. Like, he was a business guy. So he was like, I got a business that we can go to, like a shop. Like, we can just print it out there, like print out the contract and sign the contract and stuff there. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of contract, right? So
oh my God.
I text my mentor and another guy. I'm like, hey, can y'all send me a wholesale contract, an assignment contract? They both send me 2 different ones. They're both blank.
Okay.
Might as well have been Chinese. I was like, I don't know if I'm the assignee or the assignor. Like, I had never heard this lingo. So I was like, it took us like an hour to fill out the contract. Because neither one of us knew what we were doing.
Oh my God.
So
how would y'all get the contract from if neither one of y'all knew how to fill it out?
No, he got it from his
I
mentor.
got it from my mentor. They emailed me.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm driving on my way to the guys, so I'm texting them and they emailed it to me. By the time I get there and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is. So, long story short, it took us about an hour. We get it done. And I get it over the title, and they was like, "Yeah, you can't assign this."
Oh,
and I'm
my
like, "Well, what do
God.
you mean?" It's like, "Well, like it's already like at the time they was like they wouldn't allow like a double assignment."
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
okay, well, dang, okay. So like, what's my other option? So then I started realizing like, oh, okay, I can do this double close thing. So it's like, okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I got to close. It's like, all right, cool. And then as we're along in the process of clearing title, I guess underwriting reached out to the wholesaler, and was like, hey, your contract was for a crazy amount. Basically, you're going to make too much money. You have to close on this.
Wow.
In so many words.
Yeah,
That's basically
yeah.
what they told him.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's more like CYA for them. But
Yeah.
it was like, hey, like, his contract was for like $1. So,
Really? Oh.
so, but he was paying like back taxes and some other stuff. But
it probably wasn't worth the title insurance for them at that point.
yeah, so they were like, "Hey, you gotta close."
Yeah.
So I immediately go back to title. Was like, "Hey, can I now assign this since like he's gonna be the seller?" And so they basically was like, "Yeah, I see no problem with it." But the original agent was like, "No, you can't do it." But I went to the branch manager. Was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
just for my clarification, like,
Yeah,
can this be done?" And she was like, "Yeah." It's like, well, she was saying we can't do that.
Getting people in trouble.
Look, man, like, because I understood like being on title versus not being on title, and like that transaction and stuff like that. So I was like, nah, like I know how this is supposed to work, and in my head, this is how it's supposed to work. And she's saying like, no, if it's no, I need to understand why.
Right.
Trust but verify.
So long story short, and at the time I think I was an auditor, so I was like,
oh well.
So like that transition, like where that transaction like took place to where like, okay, now I can wholesale it. So I wholesale it to the guy. He gets clear. Well, first off, the first buyer gets clear title. He closes.
Yeah.
My buyer then, like as I'm wholesaling it, clear title. He gets title insurance. We close.
Nice.
He starts rehabbing the house. Somebody shows up, was like, how y'all rehabbing this house when I have it under contract? I'm like,
oh,
nah.
This is my very first wholesale transaction.
Man.
So I reach out to like my mentor, like, hey, this is happening. Like, are we good?
Yeah.
And they immediately was like, well, this is why you close at a title company for this exact reason.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. And so the guy then we contact title. It was like, hey, some guy is saying like, this is like, he has this house under contract, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They was like, oh, okay, let us call you back. They don't call back, so we call back.
No, they not gonna call
you already know it's like they don't call
way.
back. So then they were like, yeah, like we were talking to like back office. They want to see like you guys should probably see if you could handle this outside of like title. It was like,
what?
okay, I hear this right.
This sounds real
Real
familiar.
Right? I'm like, huh? Nope. That don't sound right. Call my mentor. I'm like, hey, man, y'all got somebody we can talk to? Because this is what they're telling us.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man, this is why you call it title company.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what I thought too. But this is what they're saying. So then I contact like a title company that they close with a lot. And so it's like, hey, like, he's one of your bigger fish. Like, he sent me here. Like, this is what we're being told on the transaction over here. And they was like, nope. That's not how this should work. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to push that off onto you guys, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, okay. They was like, no, this is why they have E&O insurance. Like, that's errors and omissions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for, like, mistakes, if there was a mistake to be had, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really even need to be contacting y'all. Like, his issue is with title.
Right. 100%.
Say less.
Yeah.
We get on the call with the guys like, hey, what is it that you even want? Before we even go further, he was like, $10,000. I was like, okay.
This is crazy.
And like at first he was talking, it was me and the original wholesaler, and we were on speaker, and he was talking to him. But as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, nah. Hey, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're not paying that.
10,000 as a wholesaler. Okay.
Then he started saying something about a lawsuit. I was like, all right. best believe if you sue us, you're gonna have 3 different lawsuits coming to you because your issue is not with us. Your issue is with title,
Yep.
and you need to handle it that way.
Yeah.
But I know I better not see my name in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also started consulting with like the other title company as well as my mentor, mostly the other title company at this point, and just trying to make sure like, hey, like where's my liability in this and all that, like because they basically because I want to make sure like everybody's good. I was like, they were like, no, he's good. He has title insurance. Like your buyer, like this is why you closed there. Like so, like there should be nothing at the very minimum. Like he's gonna get his money back plus some and all this other stuff if there's an issue.
Right.
So it's like, okay, but it's probably not. They're probably just going to have to handle something with the title company with that guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. So I relay this to the buyer, but it was like, but for you, to be honest, like you're doing above and beyond because you never took place on title. Like you're good.
Yeah. That's what good people do.
So, but I'm like, yeah, like I sold this dude the house. I want to make sure he's good.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I stayed through the whole process. Like even like they're telling me like he's okay. He's stressing out. That dude, like to this day, like I'll see him every once in a while. I'm like, like bro, like you gotta learn to relax on. like I mean, like we're laughing, but like man, oh dude, he had like a heart attack.
Oh.
And I was like, bro, I promise it's not that crucial.
I mean, from what you said, it sounded like it was his first one though.
I don't know if it was his very first one.
Okay.
No.
One of the first.
Yeah, I could tell.
And
like,
he probably had some money tied up in there, you know.
But in my head, like, you got, and it's not like he didn't know who my mentor was. I'm like, I'm getting clarification. I even let him speak to them, let him speak to the title people at the other title company, just to make sure, like, hey, this is a very well-known title company.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they're backing, if they're saying this, like, best believe, like, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So in my head, hey, handle that situation based off of their knowledge and recommendations. And so at the same time, it's like, okay, you want to hire an attorney? Fine, I get it.
Yep.
But like, let that stress stop like there.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're paying the professionals to do. So like, that's my mentality. But long story short, like, I mean, that took place over a lot of months. But for that buyer, like it was stressful, very stressful for him. And like that was also from my perspective, like this is why I need to stay involved until like I know he's good.
Yeah.
Cause I mean I didn't expect even what happened. And I'm like, oh, like hey bro, like because in my head I'm like we like this is easy.
Yeah.
Like this is who the people we need to talk to. Now I will say that title company went out of business like very quickly. Like I ain't gonna say it was like.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was within that year.
Wow.
Oh.
Like within that year.
What? Thank goodness. I mean, you called them before they went out of business.
So.
What?
That was, But it wasn't like it wasn't my title company in particular. At the time, I didn't even have a title company.
Yeah.
Like, that transaction.
It's your first one, so.
Well, I had 5 rentals.
Oh, yeah, he had clothes on.
But,
Well,
I mean, like first wholesale deal.
Yeah.
But that transaction landed me with the title company that I started doing a lot of business with at the time.
Yeah, you
Nice.
feel like you
the
can trust
ones
them,
I
right?
went to, I was like, oh.
They're knowledgeable, you can trust them. And,
Yeah, you seen what a bad one looked like.
Out the gate. I was like,
You know what to look for now. So
it was like, you know what? Hey, can y'all do these kind of
Right.
transactions?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna come over here.
yeah.
So,
man.
but yeah, no, that company did go out of business.
Wow.
But I mean, I've seen a few title companies go out of business in my days. But I will also say, like going through that transaction, really did actually help mentor like other friends as they go through various things. Because now I've watched a couple of friends, even more recently, somebody's in the group with us, like go through like really recent like transactions similar, but it wasn't like an assignment. It was like title company dropping the ball on the closing transaction,
Yeah.
not getting the funds to like a pre-foreclosure before
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah, so
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
so he's rehabbing the house and
Oh my
No.
God.
and
And the
somebody
bank.
no
Oh, somebody else
a
that bought it.
buyer
Yeah.
contractor
Oh,
showed
no.
up trying to change the locks, and it's like
Oh.
That's bad.
yeah.
That's real bad.
So yeah, he was going through that for some months. So, but it was like, hey, like here's what you need to do, but here's also the people we need to contact like ASAP.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, and then for him, like you paying that lender.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
you
That's
don't got
the
a house.
worst thing. Yes, that's
Yeah.
the worst thing about, especially now with it's so many scams going on, and so many people like title companies, whatever, not doing their jobs.
Yeah.
It's the timing of getting, like, if you have to sue, going through litigation.
Yeah.
It's the timing of it, because in that meantime, especially if you have a loan, you still have to go through and pay your loan payments, and you're out of your money. Like, even if you don't have a loan, even if you have your own money invested, you're out of your money all that time, and you're still having to pay attorney fees, and you're still having to pay bills on the property, because
Yep.
taxes. Like, you still have to keep up. You have to keep all your ducks in a row until it goes to the process, and sometimes it's a matter of a couple of months to a couple of years, a few years, depending on dates and timing. So that
Then imagine like
sucks.
in his story, like where he's still having to pay the contract and everything to finish his project out, and you don't even know what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
So he paused his rehab. So now you're just paying the lender.
Okay. Gotcha.
And you got a house
Okay.
sitting, but it's like, are you using your rehab money to pay the rent? Like, what are you doing in that situation?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Like, man, like that stuff. I can understand like how people can get like very stressed out.
Yeah.
Because we told a story on this podcast when we first switched over to our new format, the story of the manor, and similar thing, man. But luckily for us, I can say luckily now, but at the time, it didn't feel like luckily. We had already had a buyer. We finished rehab. Everything was done. We found out because the buyer in that transaction, that side of things, or looking to buy it.
Commitment came back.
Yeah, and it came back, and it was like, hold up, wait a minute, y'all. Somebody filed the memorandum on this, like days after y'all closed on it. Well, days before we closed on it.
Yeah.
So that title company didn't pick it up, and we went through the same thing, man.
And it seemed like it was more stressful because we had a buyer lined up, and we had been sitting on the market for, that was when the market had turned, and we had been sitting on the market for a couple of months, and we finally got a buyer, and it was basically like a cash buyer, and we do not want to lose out on this buyer.
Full ask, all of that stuff.
All of it. All the things
everything
that
you wanted to buy here. But we got to deal with this mess.
And so luckily we got it resolved very quickly by kind of going through some of the same methods that you, like handling stuff like outside as well as with title. Can't fully disclose everything, but we did get it taken care of.
The crazy thing about it, because I heard similar things in his stories, that like you are like trying to make sure everybody, like everything's handled, everything's good. You're in the middle of it. You're getting crap from the person that filed the memorandum, and you're getting crap from the title company. Exact same thing happened to us. It's like, we're going to take care of us, forget about y'all, but we're stuck in the middle. It's like, all we did was buy the house. That's it. We didn't file it. We didn't miss that it was filed. But everybody, like, they're both coming at us like we did something wrong.
Wash your hands. They washed their hands with it. But going back to your story at the very beginning, when you said the title company would not allow 2 assignments, that actually kind of, like, by the first wholesaler having to actually close on it, you got clear title then.
Yeah,
and then
that was my argument the entire time. I was like, we got clear title twice. Like, how did this not come up not one time? I'm like,
and you going in to say, well, now I don't need to close on it. Those sequence of events you didn't even know save you from a lot of stuff in the end. Like, it's crazy how, like, I was like, man, certain things happen, like the universe or God or whatever people believe in, like, that saves you from yourself. Like,
I tell people all the time, I was like, you know how you become a beast? I was like, you go through shit.
Yeah.
Like,
That's how.
like if you don't, like, everything just goes a certain way, like, then all you know is like, here are the steps. But if you don't know how to handle certain things, so like when I tell people all the time, like success is just staying in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
100%.
it's like, as long as I can stay in the game, like, there's gonna be different things that happen
Yeah.
and occur. Because I was like, if
100%.
not, life is gonna be boring. So it's like, stuff is gonna happen. So now it's up to you to figure out. Like, when we were in corporate, like, it's easy to have them put in this ticket with the help desk.
Yep.
Yeah, ain't no help
Ain't no
desk.
help desk, man.
You're in the help desk.
Like, I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, no
You're the
matter what
firefighter.
the situation is, it's like, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So it's like, when people like, ain't nobody in there, stand up with me shooting in the gym. It's like, nobody's up at 2, 3
Right.
o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
figuring out like how we get through this issue.
Like,
Right.
legit, like, I know Marcus and I, we handle like most of our issues by just talking at night. Like, we send the kids to bed, pull up a glass of wine, let's talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
and legit, like, that's how we're like, all right, we can go to bed now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we talk through it. We'll handle it tomorrow. Send out a few emails if we have to that night. But most of ours just like get handled by just at sitting on the sofa, just discussing it.
Yeah.
But
And that's important in addition to, quitting your job monetarily wise.
Yeah.
You think like from a money perspective, like that's like the only thing, but it's really not.
Nah.
Like, can you
Far from
handle all of the business? Like, when things go left, or like you said, the guy that's always nervous, he had a heart attack. Like, that's you don't. I wouldn't recommend that to him. I don't think you should be the entrepreneur. I think the corporate job may be a better route for you. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't really consider the fact that like you're on the hook for everything.
yeah.
Like, you have to take responsibility and sort of figure out the answer to all these problems. Become like that firefighter. I tell people all the time, everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do lion stuff.
Yeah, that's not really what you say, but
That's the PG version. But
yeah.
I feel you. No, but that's exactly how it works. Like, people don't understand like the amount of stress and pressure and stuff that comes on your shoulders. Like, when you're in charge of all this
It's
stuff.
all
Yeah.
you.
And I mean, I would have to say, you said it's all good when things are going easy. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And that's even a true testament to our journey in real estate. Like, I mean, every deal comes with its own set of issues, right?
Yeah.
But I would say we learned the most probably within this last like 3 or 4 years since the pandemic happened. Because that came with its own set of issues as well as us transitioning from just completely like flipping to like now the lending side.
Yeah.
That came, I mean, we thought, okay, we were like, we now on the other side of it, we're like, it's gonna be smooth selling.
Yeah.
But
all
no,
we do
that
is
comes
lend.
with its own set of issues.
Man,
and I tell everybody, it's like whatever you're willing to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is going to have issues. It's whatever you're willing to deal with. And I mean, some people are willing to do it and some people not.
Yeah.
Man.
That's what sets us apart, right?
Yeah. Looking at it's kind of speak to what you were talking about. I think our perception was that it was easy because we were looking at our hard money lender. Every time we meet up with him, he was all happy and cheerful, like nothing was going wrong and not a care in the world. Man, I tell you, man, as soon as that switch flipped and we started having to ask about lending related stuff, that's when it was like, man, I hope you got 2 90-minute tapes because I had a whole lot of stuff to tell you. I was like, man, we didn't see this before, man.
Now I'm on the other side looking like your buyer guy. Like, oh Lord, I'm having a heart attack.
I promise it's not that bad. You just gotta learn to go through the stuff so you know how to react when certain things pop up.
Oh yeah, I tell everybody too. Like, especially Marcus, I be like, I panic first. That's my first. That's my first reaction.
Nah, that cannot be it.
But I don't sit in it. I don't sit in my
Okay.
panic. My first reaction is to panic, but we balance each other out so well.
Yeah.
Marcus
I
don't
don't.
get up in arms about anything.
Nothing.
Like, he doesn't panic at all like I do. So I panic and then I go to him and he be like, we're good. We're good. And that's when we have to have those talks at night. It's mainly for me. Like, it's mainly for me. Calm down.
So if you ever
Calm
go
down.
to multifamily, I'm like, all right, Marcus, you're going to be the one that's going to be in charge.
Yeah, man. Let Marcus handle the difficult conversations with these tenants and stuff. Because he got it.
I know I'm not the one for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't panic, but like I also realize I can't be the one talking to the tenants anymore.
Yeah.
Like, couple of things happened. Then my wife was like, you know what? You're not allowed.
What you do? What you telling people?
Oh man.
I don't even think it was
story
the first
number
one.
2 in progress.
Yeah, I won't tell the first story on air.
Okay. Okay.
I'll tell y'all that one later. But the second time, we were at one of our larger properties, and we had took over a property. Like there was most of the properties we buy are like deep value adds. So a deep value add means like you're going in there similar to like a house flip where you're going in to add value to that property. So that means you're going in there probably going to do some major renovations. Rents are probably like too low for the area or for the market. So you're going in there raising rents, but you're also having to like, depending on like what it is, if there's people in there that's not paying rent, like doing different turnover things, like you got a lot going on at a property.
Yeah.
At least the ones we take over or that we're purchasing. And so in this particular property, like rents were like really low. But the previous owner did no work on the property. So like if you want to move in and the unit wasn't clean, hey, you clean it out the unit.
Ooh.
You bring in your own appliances. Like
No
if you
way.
want that unit painted. Like this is like stuff we start finding like after we purchased. So it's like, wait, what? You got to buy your own stove? Like, like oh,
They moving
okay.
out like, this is my stove.
Yeah, like
when the tenants move
that's not how
out,
this works. So, like they taking stoves and doors. Like we had a tenant take a door.
No way.
Like,
Oh my God.
So, like you'll have stories for days, right? So, this particular property, like I'm on, or I ain't gonna say I'm on site. We're on site because like it's me, my wife. I got one of my crews there that particular day, and so like we're there, we're going through, and we find out like the stove, like for some reason that like the tenant was saying like the stove isn't working properly. So it's like tell my guy like, hey, go check it out. So like come back and it's like, yeah, like I think it's leaking gas. Like we need to cap this. I'm like, okay, let her know like, hey, this is a Saturday afternoon. Like, but I got my crews over there and like this is like we're within the first month or so of like purchasing. So like we're there trying to communicate, let the tenants know because they're not used to people coming over here fixing problems.
Yeah.
So like we have units that we were rehabbing, but I had always told my guys, especially at this particular property at that time, if we have a tenant issue, let's like pause what we're doing. Let's try to take care of their stuff.
Right.
Because they're not used to this. So while we here and you can translate for me, like that they have this issue, let's go ahead and take care of it. And then like we can get back to that unit.
Right.
Like whatever we're working on.
Right.
So that was always the plan. So they're stopping to work on people's units. Because I want to make tenants happy. Like y'all are used. I know y'all aren't used to people doing stuff and caring, but hey, we do.
Awesome.
Rent increases are coming later, but no, I'm just playing.
We'll get to the fun part.
Yeah. But no, so like we're taking care of the stuff. So like he immediately goes over there. They tell me like, hey, the stove isn't working. We basically need to like cap it. And I was like, all right, let her know we'll buy a new stove. So. Immediately tell her that. So like I'm on FaceTime with one of my other partners. And so like we're down, I'll go back down to the car. So we're finishing our conversation. Don't even remember what we were talking about at the time. Next thing you know, the lady's son comes downstairs. Like he's an adult, but he comes downstairs and it was like, hey, like can I speak with you? I'm like, okay, like cool. Let me get out the car, but I don't really stop the FaceTime.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, well, like, we just found out that, like, the stove's not working. We're going to have to buy food, like, and go to restaurants. Like, so I start chuckling, right? Not even going to lie.
Yeah, like I just did.
Yeah. So
I
I was
know where this
like,
go.
You see how I'm side-eyeing. Okay.
I was like, okay, so what do you try to say? He's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to pay rent. I'm like, bro.
Oh,
like I had to word to bro. I was like, bro. Like, we just found out, like, less than 10 minutes ago that your stove ain't working.
Right.
And it's, like, it's Saturday evening. Like, I literally told you, like, we're going to buy you a new stove.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, but, like, I don't know if I'm be able to pay rent. So, mind you, at that point, like, I'm upstairs talking to him.
Yeah.
So, as he's telling me this, I don't know if we sounded like we were loud or what it was about my demeanor, but apparently my wife saw something, but she started coming upstairs.
Oh.
So as he's saying that, I was like, hey, like, I wasn't even mad or nothing. Like, my response literally was like, hey, bro, like, if you're telling me you're not going to pay rent, I'm not going to stop you. Like, I'm not going to stop you, but I can't promise you won't get evicted.
Right.
More than likely, you're probably gonna get evicted.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what I told her.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Go downstairs." I was like, "What did I say?" Like, what did I say? Like,
I mean, it was facts.
I was like, he just told me he ain't paying rent.
Yeah, cause and effect.
Yeah. Because I was talking about, like, just pause for a second. That rent must have been really low for him to think that
Going out to eat a couple of times.
Nah, bro. Like,
that really had to be.
I ain't gonna, like, it was low, but let's just say me, because it's not me. By the property purchasing the stove, it cost us more to purchase the stove than what he was gonna pay in rent.
Oh my God.
And I was like, bro, because in my head, I ain't gonna say that to you.
Yeah.
But I'm like, bro, this stove costs more than your rent. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah.
I'm finna buy you a new one.
Right. I could just keep letting you go get stuff every month.
I'm like, the previous guy, like, they wouldn't even fix this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
And you give me 10 minutes to resolve the issue.
That's
It
rough.
was like, we were, like, I was, like, literally on a Sunday, like, we ordering you a stove. Like, it's not like I'm a corporation where I'm like, oh, you know what? We just gonna work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I'm like, nah, man, like, you're a resident at one of my properties and you got it. Like, we gonna try to take care of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
especially like a stove. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
now I ain't gonna lie, like, later at that property, we ended up having a gas issue. Man, fuck, I got so many.
I remember you telling about the gas issue.
Yeah, but that was a $20,000 problem. So that was not it.
Ooh.
Like,
20,000.
yeah.
But isn't that crazy how the previous owner probably got away with all this?
All of it.
And then as soon as you come in, they're like, oh, he got money.
Yeah,
right?
they got expectations now.
Yeah, they got expectations. Like, I mean, I told you about it 10 minutes ago. I should have had it 5 minutes ago.
Right.
Like,
I feel like the city do the same thing. I'm like, all of a sudden the city come out of work, you need to fix. I'm like, bro, did you not see this? Like, it's been sitting like this for a decade. Like,
now your name attached to it. Like, you should have been done it. You
Yeah.
should have had it done before you bought it.
but at first, like, even on that, like, that particular property, like, it's weird. But like, at first I was like, man, we always going through stuff. Or like, if the tenant like had an issue, instead of calling us for like maintenance requests, they call the city. So now all of a sudden we getting calls from the city. And we're like, city's like, well, did they tell you about the maintenance issue? Like, no. It's like, yeah. We got to tell them to stop using us for maintenance requests. And I'm like, it ain't bothering me.
Yeah.
But at first, at the beginning, it's like, oh God, the city.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, bruh.
Yeah.
Like,
You know
what we
where that's
doing?
coming from. That's coming from the slumlords. Like,
I didn't know that.
They're causing issues for the good people.
yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had to learn. Like, I think me and my wife was talking one day, and it was like, you know what? They probably called the city because that was how they got to communicate to get stuff done. Because the owners, I ain't gonna lie, like that property, man, they used to pick up rent on the 10th of the month. Like
The 10th.
Like,
Okay.
10th of the month is when they come and collect rent. Like, all the 1 bedrooms are one price, all the 2 bedrooms are at another price. Nobody on the lease.
What?
Nobody on the lease. This is more than 30 units.
But also the fact that you have to come and collect the rent.
Yeah.
In this day and age, the fact that you have to come and collect the rent.
I don't even have to ask for a year. It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
Had to.
when people have been making rent payments online
Right.
for a good 10 years.
Nah,
like,
but did we buy this in 21 or 22?
oh,
yeah,
this
no.
is real.
Like, yeah,
recent.
no, it's recent.
Oh, wow.
No, this is recent.
I mean, some landlords even take rent payments by Zelle. The fact that they have to go, like,
No, they would come over there on the 10th, And they were like, yeah, that's the only time we really see, most of the time that we see the owners.
That's crazy.
And it's like, oh,
They
man,
knocking on your door.
collect that money.
With
look,
hand
pay me
out.
or get out. I don't even know your name. Look, you're not on the lease. Pay me or get out.
Oh my God.
They ain't have a lease. They like, we were like, man, we need a rent roll when we were trying to purchase. Wrote on a sheet of paper. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
what?
like, oh, this is different.
Oh.
Okay. Hey, bank, can we get finance with this?
Did you tell the bank that they wrote on it? I wouldn't.
No, but like for the most, like when I say we take over projects, like, so you're gonna get some of everything. Like, I mean, I can take, like I said, there are stories for days, like on acquisitions where, like, you're just taking over from different. I ain't gonna say like slumlords, but just different personalities of people and things of that nature. And so, the more properties you own, the more. Now I try to be. I just hear the stories now versus like trying to be a part of them.
Right.
So,
which is great.
Yeah.
This is great. Look, because like your wife said, go downstairs.
Because like even now, like we still have access to like cameras for like the property. So like something happened, like, hey, can you look at the camera? I'm like, I think I'm gonna need to get some people access to cameras because that's one thing I don't want to do. Anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's one of
some
the things that Ayana was talking about when we had her on.
Yeah.
She had that whole property management thing. Somebody got stabbed and crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And she didn't even own it. She was just a consultant. She came in as someone that, as a consultant to people that you purchase from, and she came in to see how can they add value to the tenants as well as raise rent prices and stuff like that. So
man. So like, I guess I'm trying to get in the mind of like the people who are selling you the apartment complexes and things like that, because it seems like they're just back in time. So is it like primarily like tired landlords? They're just tired of it and they're just like, you know what, I don't have time for all of this anymore. I'm just ready to get out of it.
Yes and no. So one of my properties, I'm so used to saying names and numbers, like I almost like which property it was, but
we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that here.
So, but one of my properties, the lady was getting ready to retire, and she was just like, "I'm done." Like,
your problem.
She was older, but she was like, "Yeah, like I just got married. He has money. Like we're out. Like I'm done." I was like, I ain't mad at you. And but like, like even buying that property, like it was okay. But then we had those other people. I think they just had some internal conflict, and it was like some family conflict. So they basically was kind of selling off the property. So we got various different situations.
Yeah.
The tired ones are like cool because it's like they just probably stopped doing some work, stop raising rents, or like sometimes like because we got like one guy. Oh man, damn it! Because like one of the most recent, the 48 unit, like when we purchased that, they were like, they were older. He was like, man, I'm ready to retire, like go off. Like I think they like had some health issues and stuff like that. Yeah, then I want to say it was like a year, and then next thing you know, I'm getting a text was like, "Yeah, you remember the wholesaler? Like he passed away." It's like,
like man,
damn it! Like so, it was like, but so you see people like, but he was also one that, like, he worked on the property. I'm like, we got 48 units there, like, bro. It was like you and a helper, like,
no,
like he was older. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, at least in my head, like that's how my brain works. I'm like, no, we got a whole team for that.
Right.
So,
but see that shows the also difference in times and generations too. Our generation, we're all about freedom. And
we'll outsource something in a second.
Yes, we will pay a little bit more, like take a little bit less profit, but that freedom of your time and your energy is worth way more than that small profit that you'll be putting in your pocket for us. For our generation.
Don't get me started on like why I transitioned to a
that's what I was gonna say. Even the why of the sellers and stuff, the sellers that sell you the properties, is very similar to single family, and that's like you tell us all the time. I mean, it's it's actually easier. It seems like, because
Because I was told that a long time ago. Like the bigger you go, the easier it gets. Now there is a cap to that or a limit to where it's
Yeah.
like, nah, that's not true right there.
right.
And so like, because I've had like plenty of mentors at like different levels, and I had one that was like, hey, like that property right there is like 800 units.
Yeah.
Did you ever see yourself like? Because at that point, like at that time, I remember like he had to be worth like $500 million, and I'm like, bro, you were an accountant.
Yeah.
Like I was an accountant. Like, so I'm like, hey, did you ever envision like being worth that or having this many properties?
Yeah.
And it was just like not in my wildest dreams. But I was like what lessons like have you learned? Like, tell me, like, everybody's talking about like the more and all this other stuff, and he was like, if I could do it over, like I wouldn't touch anything over 500 units, like as one property. He's like, that's his own little city.
Yeah.
And I'm like, note to self.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Who's not gonna be messing?
You create your own bigger set of issues, and you've been forewarned. So that's why we have people in the industry that we know that's doing better than us, because you just like your mentor with the wholesaling. You better take heed.
Yeah.
You better take heed.
Learn from
But that
it,
don't
man.
mean like all the time that, because we say this all the time too. Like even with our mentor, everything that worked for someone else doesn't necessarily work for you, and some things that didn't work for them, you can make it work because you know your own set of skills. But you guys came from the same background, accounting, and now like
now he probably had a different perspective on stuff, different upbringing, things of that nature. But like, I could definitely tell, like, I'm one where I can learn from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely.
Or wins or successes. I can learn from just watching. Like, or like if I got a question, I can ask that question, but I can learn about, like, okay, how do you move? Like, why are you doing? Like, to me, a lot of times it's like the why is more important than what you actually did. So it's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that way I get a better understanding of like, eventually I don't have to go to you for these questions because like I think the same way you think.
Absolutely.
So like I learned that very early on. Like even with like that first mentor, like when I thought I wanted to flip houses, like I still remember to this day. He was like, "Dude, like you're the first person I ever mentored where you didn't do shit I told you, but you're still successful." Like everything, like because in my head, like I was like, "Man, what he's saying makes sense for him."
Yeah.
But like for the people around me, I'm like, dang. But then like my brother ain't gonna eat the same way. Like my partner ain't gonna eat the same way. Like, so I need to structure mine a little bit different. But then I thought I also originally was going into that game from being a buy and hold investor to being a flipper.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally wholesaled that house. And then it was like, oh, okay. Then the next house I get, it's like, oh, I'm gonna flip this one. And then the value start like kind of creeping up, which is a good thing as a flipper. But the way my brain was functioning, I was like, nah, I don't want to flip nothing that's over $350,000. Like, like my risk like tolerance was like like, nah, don't do this. So then I'm like, well, shit, I just wholesaled this thing before like a month ago. I could probably see if I can do this again. Yeah, and then I did that. But on that particular one, I had actually closed, but it was like, I'm going to just sell it without doing anything. It was like, it's virtually the same thing. And I was like, oh, I think I understand how this works.
Right.
And as an account, I was like, oh, this is just numbers.
So
I was like, okay, I think I understand this. And so then from that on, like, I looked up, and from that deal and that second deal, that was like May and June. And I think they closed in like June and July. And then shortly after that, like Harvey hit, and like
Harvey.
Next thing you know, it was like I wasn't even, there was no business, no systems, processes, no nothing. It's just like, oh, I think I know what to do. So I started doing it. Next thing you know, I'm looking up, and my mentor was like, hey, can you come speak at my event? One of the things I'm asked is like, how many deals you done? I'm like, shit, I don't know. So I'm up in emails, like going through like all the title companies.
Once you get to a certain point, you like, I don't. And people think like, oh, they lie. No, you don't.
I don't know.
You don't keep over it like that, man.
And so by January, I'm speaking at this event, And I had put it in a spreadsheet. It was like, oh, I did 22 deals. That's insane.
That's
okay.
impressive. Yeah.
Considering like no process, no systems, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yep.
Like even like when it even like boils down to like marketing, like people was like, oh, you're supposed to do this and do this. Man, I'm sending out like this piece of mail one time. You respond, cool. You don't, on to the next list.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know no better. Like, oh, we're supposed to do it multiple times. Oh, no, I ain't.
Yeah.
So I ain't do any of that. It was just like But before I know it, like, oh, like what? Banning signs is illegal. Like, I didn't. It's like what?
The little mini billboards.
Yep. I remember one time I posted our banner signs on Facebook. Mark was like, take that down.
We don't need them calling us.
Everything on there. He was like, take that
You
down.
ain't trying to be tracked. I still remember when I got that call from code enforcement. Because, like, even at the time, it was like, Don buys houses.
Yeah.
And she was like, is this Don? It's like, yes, I told you, bro. I didn't know anything. So I was like, is this Don? I'm like, yeah. And then it hit me while she's talking to me. She was like, you could be fined up to like $500 per sign, something.
Ooh.
And I was like, you don't even know what Don this is. What are we doing here, baby?
Yeah.
So but it was like learning lessons along that way. But like that transition for me was like easy because I'm like I could sit and learn. It was like, no, I didn't get in the game for this. Like at first, like wholesaling was like, oh man, this is cool. 30, 40 transactions a year. Like I'm good. Like like this is good for social media. But then I was like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
That grind, man.
And I don't really want to work this hard.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit stressful. Like
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not more stressful than flipping, but at the same time, both of those, I was like, nah, you know what?
See, I was the opposite.
Like, you like flipping?
I like flipping more. You talking about flipping versus wholesaling?
Huh?
Definitely like flipping more.
Definitely. It is more stressful though.
Okay, because it's over a long period of time.
And it takes longer to get paid.
Yeah.
Well, but you get paid. Well, I guess.
Yeah. No, it ain't no. Yeah.
No.
It could be less on the wholesale, but the risks are lower.
Are way lower. Yeah.
And it takes it's a shorter amount of time to get paid. Now the downside to both is like they're all transactional.
Yeah.
You want to eat. You want to make some more money. You got to do that again.
You got to do it again. You got to do it again. Yeah.
And each time you do it, it's taxable.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Like I don't know about y'all, but I'm like,
yeah. No, that I mean, the having to do it again and do it again. That was the whole reason. Well, not the whole reason, but a big reason why we decided to like transition to what we're doing now because it's the doing again and doing again to have to get paid again. And we're getting older. Our kids are getting older. We have an adult son, and I mean, we just realized that again, we want to build wealth for one, and then also we want that freedom of time.
Yeah. Hey, look,
we want that freedom of time.
I'm telling y'all, like. Those apartment buildings, I ain't got to buy those again.
Doug been trying to get an apartment since we met him.
Cause look, you going? Cause I remember sitting one day and it was like, what does it look like to go from 30 to 40 transactions to 3 or 4, but make more money?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. Now, right when I said that, I was like, okay, that's gonna be the move. That's gonna be the play. And then like the first year, I think I did like 4. Because I had already did a test one. And then I did 4. And I was like, oh, okay. That was a lot. I never did it. So it was like, oh, I didn't realize like how much work it takes to close a commercial deal. Like, okay, this is a lot of moving parts. So I was like, okay. So to close 4 in a year is like, oh, that's a lot. Then next year was 5. I was like, you know what? We should probably stop. like we should probably stop, like get our ducks in order, like, get our bearings, see if we actually like this. Cause like, I don't want to just continue to grow this thing. And it's like, what if I like this or this or this?
Yeah.
And now I got like 2,000 doors of that.
Right.
Now, like, so for the last, like, now it's like, it's been, no, I don't have 2,000, by the way. Like it's still, it's still the same tube.
I would believe you if you
Yeah,
said
no.
red.
It's still the same tube.
Because we know.
Now people have been banging down my door like, "Hey, you buying again yet?" I'm like, "Nah, I think I'm chilling."
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost there. Like, because I'm starting to get the itch again. Because it's been like 2 years of like not buying anything. It's like, oh man, like this is.
I remember us having a conversation around like summertime last year, like beginning of summer. You was like, "This is my deadline." I said, if I didn't buy it by this time, then I'm chilling for now.
Because I want to, I want to be able to celebrate. Like, hey, what's it look like to have a year of like not buying an apartment complex?
Yeah,
which sounds insane, but like the path we were going, like that's literally what we were doing. It was like buying one every 3-4 months.
Yeah,
seemed like.
So. Yeah. Well, man, Don, it's always a pleasure to have you, man. You're a wealth of information, man. Just real quick, just how can people reach out to you, if they want to, learn how to buy apartments, or if they just want to check you out and just see what you're all about, man? How can they do that?
First off, your podcast.
Nice plug. Right, nice plug.
But probably on Instagram, like I'm a little more active on there than the other social media platforms. So
gotcha.
Instagram, the Don of real estate with all underscores in between all the words. But the Don of real estate on Instagram is probably the best way.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
No business cards for this guy.
Yeah. We don't do that either.
Yeah.
I was asking for Instagrams. But yeah, that's it for this story, man. You dropped a couple of them. It's quite a few nuggets in there. We make sure you guys are paying attention. If you have to, go back and rewind, listen to it again. Yeah, that's it for this one. Oh, and if you have a story yourself, got to plug the podcast again. If you have a story yourself and you want to reach out to us to get on the podcast, you can reach out to us at hello@phoebecapital.com. Drop us a message. Let us know you want to speak to us. We'd be happy to host you. That's it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.